to Life, Love, and Philosophy. This is the second part of a series of programs I'm doing with my special guest, Buddhist scholar and author Percy Nanayakkara. Let me provide a brief review of some of the points we made in the last program for those who might not have seen it. We talked a little bit about the Buddha's life, and Percy provided an overview of it. It was pointed out that he was born a prince, but around the age of 29 he gave up that life and went in search of truth and lived as a poor man for many years, finally becoming a teacher. In fact, taught for about 45 years. We also talked about what is generally considered to be the intellectual foundation of Buddhism. It's usually referred to as the Four Noble Truths. And it was pointed out, and I'm summarizing very briefly here, that noble truth number one is that life consists of suffering. And by suffering, the Buddhists don't necessarily mean illness, old age. They're talking about, at least very often, they're talking about the kind of suffering we all do on a daily basis: anxiety, stress, nervousness, disappointments, etc. Also, the other three noble truths concern Buddha's thoughts about what is the primary cause of suffering and what we can do to reduce our suffering. And the Buddha came to the conclusion that the primary cause of our suffering is our desires, that our desires are insatiable and cause us much frustration. So that if we're going to become more tranquil people, it's very important that we work at reducing our desires. And finally, the fourth noble truth is a very specific prescription for the good life rendered by the Buddha. It's called the Eightfold Noble Path. Percy, again, I welcome you to the program. Is there anything you'd like to correct in what I said?
No, that's correct. You laid the foundation. So
let's talk about the Eightfold Noble Path.
Yes.
Because this is, it would be accurate to say this is the Buddhist prescription for the good life.
That is right. Now, as you mentioned, we first dealt with about the Four Noble Truths. Out of that, the fourth noble truth is the path leading to the liberation from suffering. That path is the Noble Eightfold Path, which divided. Now, Buddha's teaching based on three basic areas, which is called Sila, Samadhi, Panya, which is Sila means morality or ethical conduct. Samadhi means concentration, and Panya means wisdom, to develop wisdom.
Morality, concentration, wisdom. So that the Eightfold Noble Path is based on those three ideas.
Yeah, okay. Now the first one of course, the sequence in which the Noble Eightfold Path is set out is not in the sequence of sila or of morality, wisdom, and because these are not things that should be practiced in a sequential order.
Yes.
These are things that should be practiced
together. Yeah.
Together.
So it's not as if you go from step 1 to 2 to 3 and finally to 8.
Yeah.
You're supposed to practice all 8 of them.
All 8 of them, but with what you can do with. Don't try to do things you cannot do because you will be frustrated. Now it's like this: holding a cup of tea or coffee. There is only a specific time that you can hold it. After that, your hand starts hurting. Then you set it down. So in the same way, when you are following this path, you must do it that what you can cope with.
So we must be patient.
We must be patient.
In other words, we're not going to accomplish the goal of the Eightfold Noble Path in a week, a month, a year. Yeah. It will probably take many years, maybe a lifetime, correct?
Yes, and as Buddhists, since we believe in rebirth, it may take several lifetimes.
Okay.
So that, okay. Now, the
practice makes perfect.
Yes. The first one is what is called, now each one is called right in the path Each step is called, say, right view. First one is right view.
And explain,
Yes.
what do the Buddhists mean by right view, which is
Yeah.
the foundation of the Eightfold Noble Path?
Yeah, actually, right view means right understanding. Now, right here means something that is not inimical or bad for you or the others. Now, every action that you, because it is called right, because you must do things which are not only not harmful to you, but not harmful to others also. So first one is right understanding or right thought.
So we have to understand that if we hurt other people,
Yes.
we are hurting ourselves.
That is
That's
right.
part of right view.
Right view, yes.
And if one doesn't understand that,
Yes.
one doesn't get it, so
Get
to
it,
speak.
yes.
Correct? One would have
Yes.
an incorrect view, wrong view.
Yes.
What is the second?
One is right intention. Intention. You, now, I think I will deal with this later when we are doing in other subjects, but your intention is a very important thing, because now for the Buddhist, mind is the most important factor. And so that your intention must be a good intention, good in the sense, not harmful to you and not harmful to others.
Yeah.
So then there must be, you must have
If I can
right.
interrupt for a moment.
Yes.
The Buddhists believe that if we don't make a decision to try to be moral people, to try to be good people, decent people, just people, then all of our other efforts at achieving greater tranquility and happiness will fail. That it's essential
Yes.
that we try to be fair to other people.
Other people, yes, because otherwise it becomes selfish. If you are only concerned about yourself, it becomes selfish.
The Buddhists don't believe that dishonest people laugh all the way to the bank.
Yes.
Or maybe they believe they laugh all the way to the bank, but maybe cry on the way home from the bank?
Yes.
Or eventually.
Eventually.
The idea is that in the long run,
Yeah.
in the long run,
Yeah.
being moral is conducive to our tranquility and happiness.
Yes.
I interrupted you. You were talking about the
then
second step.
there is right attitude. You must have the proper attitude towards various things, that I'm not doing this for myself. That the selfishness must be avoided.
Yeah.
Then the right means of livelihood,
Right livelihood.
which means that you must not be a person whose job is, whose profession is robbing others.
Sure.
Or dealing, dealing in drugs or intoxicants.
Yeah.
You know, or even killing, being assassin.
When I read about right livelihood being one of the important steps to greater tranquility, I was thinking that certain ways in which people earn a living are more conducive to this than others, in the sense that if you're doing something where you're serving other people, for example, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, specifically a lawyer maybe trying to help the poor people, or at least trying to secure justice in the world for anyone, that's right livelihood.
Yes.
But if someone is a businessman and feels that he or she cannot make a good living unless he or she is dishonest, then a Buddhist would advise that person to get out of the business.
Get out
correct?
of the business. Yes.
Because he's not into right livelihood,
Yes.
and this will interfere with all of his efforts to
Yes.
become a more tranquil person.
Yes.
And the fifth step, are we
Yeah.
up to
Next
the fifth one, I think?
Yeah. Right effort.
Yeah.
For anything that you do, you must put in yourself completely. You must devote yourself, whether you are doing something to yourself which is beneficial to you or to others, you must put in the greatest effort you can.
Yeah. So again, if one is a teacher or a nurse and one is not particularly conscientious, that's not right effort.
Yes.
If I am a teacher or a nurse, the Buddhist would say it's incumbent upon me, if I'm following the Eightfold Path, to be very conscientious in my work.
Yes.
Very conscientious in one's work.
One's work. Then there is next one is right mindfulness. That is now, Normally, any person, about 90% of our actions for a day are automatic. By force of habit, we do. But in order to train your mind, what Buddha says is, you must be mindful. That is, everything you do, don't do by way of habit. Think of what you are doing.
We should be thinking about our thinking.
Yes.
Monitoring our thoughts.
Monitoring our
in an
thoughts.
ongoing way.
Yes.
So if I'm angry now,
Yes.
I should be aware of the fact I'm angry. That's the first step. Be aware of the anger.
Yeah.
And hopefully be aware of the anger as soon as it comes on, rather than 10 minutes later when maybe I would have thrown something.
Yes.
And then if I'm into mindfulness and I realize that I'm angry, then the Buddhist would recommend I come up with some kind of antidote to it, correct? To get rid of that anger.
Yeah, when you are mindful, when you know that you are angry, then take a few deep breaths.
Yes.
And because then you will settle down. Then your action will not be motivated by your anger, but action will with your mindfulness.
Yeah, it's interesting also, the Buddha felt that we must all find antidotes to our negative thoughts.
Yes.
For example, if I'm feeling very envious of someone, well, an antidote to my envy might be the fact that one cannot be envious and happy at the same time.
Yes.
So if Phil tells himself, Phil, by being envious of this person, you're hurting yourself. Because envy, by definition, is discomfort at another's advantage. That would be an antidote, would it not?
Yes.
Another antidote, I think that many Buddhists would recommend is this. If I'm envious of someone, I should think about all the suffering they do in their lives and develop compassion for that person. And if I have compassion for the person, then I will not have envy. Hopefully I will not have envy. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
Yeah. Okay,
and the
continue,
last one is wisdom.
Yeah.
To have that now, throughout his teachings in discourses, to be wise, to be a wisdom, in order to find out what is correct, what you are seeking after must be determined. Now say, let's take the case of happiness. Now Buddha says that the happiness is within us. What becomes unhappiness is the things that we do ourselves with our own mind.
Yes, the Buddha said much of our pain is self-chosen. We bring a lot of our own, we bring a lot of suffering on ourselves.
Yes. And now, Buddhist concept of happiness is a bit different in the sense that it is different to pleasure. Pleasure, and now, when we say pleasure, that is related to our senses. Okay? When we see something nice, something beautiful, then there is a pleasure.
Yes.
Okay. When we hear a beautiful song, then there is a pleasure. When we touch something nice, velvety, then there is a pleasure.
Yes.
When we smell something nice cologne, then there is a pleasure. Then if you taste something good food, then there's a pleasure. So now pleasure is sense related. That is reaction to our sense organs, the nose, the mouth, our skin, touch, our eyes, our ears. Happiness is a state of the mind. It is not related to these 5 sense organs.
Yes.
It is a state of the mind. Now, according to Buddha, mind is also an organ. It's also a sense organ. But unlike other sense organs, it is not related to any physical sensation. Now, for instance, the eyes cannot hear anything good. Eyes can only see. Okay, say the smell. Eyes or ears cannot smell anything, only the nose. But the mind is different to all these. Something which you which we know it is there, but we cannot touch. Like, if there is electricity in something, we cannot look at it and say that there is electricity in this wire. Because you need, but we understand it is there. So that the Buddhist concept of happiness is not the pleasures, but the state of the mind.
You know what this reminds me of? There was a very famous ancient Greek philosopher, perhaps you're familiar with him, Epicurus.
Yes.
Epicurus believed that intellectual pleasures should be preferred to sensual pleasures, because he said that in the long run, sensual pleasures cause us a lot of discomfort, and that the intellectual pleasures are more reliable as a source of happiness, and the happiness we get from the intellectual pleasures is more enduring. If I understand you correctly, so what you're saying is that the Buddhists believe that one of the things we should do to acquire more happiness in life is to gain greater control of our senses and to try to diminish any tendencies we have to try to get pleasure from the senses. But instead look to the mind.
Yeah, quite
to thinking about our thinking, monitoring our thoughts, and thinking positive thoughts, happy thoughts, and this is the way to go to achieve more tranquility. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct, yes.
Now, the Buddhist goal, as I understand it, is called Nibbana. Some people use the word Nirvana, depending on the book one is reading. Tell us a little bit about this. When Buddhists say, I hope to achieve Nirvana or Nibbana someday, what are they saying? What do they want to achieve?
The word Nibbana is the Pali word. Now, Pali, as we mentioned earlier, was a language spoken by the Buddha, and the scriptures are in that language, which is a dead language now. Nirvana is the Sanskrit version, which is also now found in the English dictionary. If you look up, like Nirvana is there in this thing. Now, Nirvana is the ultimate goal of the Buddhists. Now, just as the ultimate goal of other religions is paradise or go to heaven or be associated with God or all these things. But here there is something unique about this, which is very different to all others. In every other religion, the ultimate goal has to be achieved upon death. Whether going to paradise or heaven or be with God or anything like that.
St. Augustine, the famous Catholic philosopher, said, we can't be very happy in this life. We must wait until we die and go to heaven. And if we don't go to heaven, of course, we're not going to be happy. But the only place we can be happy is heaven. The Buddhists don't share St. Augustine's idea, do they?
Because Nirvana has to be achieved while you are still alive. Now, Buddha, what is called attainment of enlightenment, that is Nirvana. Buddha achieved Nirvana at the age of 35. He lived up to the ripe age of 80 years, enjoying nirvanic bliss.
And what is nirvanic bliss? What's it like when you achieve the...
final thing is that you are not reborn. But before that, when you have achieved Nirvana...
What is life like if a person has achieved Nibbana?
There is no hate, there is no jealousy, there is no envy, there is no pain, there is no mental suffering, there are no psychic irritants, there isn't anything like that.
One is very serene.
Very serene.
Now, isn't it true the Buddhists believe that we are reborn many times?
Yes.
But they believe the goal is to stop the cycle of rebirth.
That is right.
So that
that's the ultimate aim.
The Buddhist doesn't want to come back to life.
Yes.
Why is that? Many Americans, I think, would like the idea of, they're hoping that when they die, they will come back to life again. Why do the Buddhists not want to come back?
It is on the basic premise that life is suffering. So we want to... The essence of Buddhism is liberation from suffering. So that is why being reborn this cycle of births and deaths is, we want to put an end to that.
Yeah.
That it will. Now, when Buddha, what they call at age of 80, he attained what is called parinirvana. That means, now that was his final last birth. He will not be born again.
Yes.
There's no rebirth.
So he will not suffer again.
He will not suffer again.
Yeah. Isn't it also true that one achieves this state of nirvana in life, that besides being very serene, one lives in the present moment, that one learns not to live in the past or the future? I think it's fair to say most of us think about what we'll be doing tomorrow or next week, or we lament something that happened in the past.
Yeah.
But when the Buddhist achieves his goal, he or she is able to live in the present moment.
In the present moment, because past is gone. Future is yet to come. Present moment is now. He says that, gives a story where he gives a sort of an analogy like, say you are in the jungle, you are in a forest, and you are struck by an arrow. The immediate thing that you should do is to try to remove the arrow from your body and stop the bleeding. Without doing that, you don't try to investigate from where did this arrow come.
Yes, yes. You just want to stop the pain.
First, yeah, so just like that.
I'll tell you what is so interesting about this. There was a piece in the New York Times recently about a very prosperous businessman who developed a brain tumor, incurable brain tumor. And he was given only a few months to live, and he had to decide what he was going to do with his life. His name is Eugene Kelly. He has passed away, by the way. Eugene O. Kelly, excuse me. He decided to write a book in his last few months on this earth. The name of the book is Chasing Daylight, How My Forthcoming Death Transformed My Life. Again, Chasing Daylight, How My Forthcoming Death Transformed My Life. I want to read a little bit from this article because it relates very much, I think, to the concept of Nibbana. Mr. O'Kelly, in his book, again written several months before he died, said this. He said he had to learn how to live in the moment. I want to quote him now. This is from the book. I needed to stop living 2 months, a week, even a few hours ahead, he wrote. I felt that if I could learn to stay in the present moment, to be fully conscious of my surroundings, I would buy myself lots of time that had never been available to me, not in all the years I was healthy. Let me read that again. Isn't this very Buddhist?
That is very Buddhistic.
I needed to stop living 2 months, a week, even a few hours ahead. I felt that if I could learn to stay in the present moment, to be fully conscious of my surroundings, I would buy myself lots of time that had never been available to me, not in all the years I was healthy. I think what he's saying is so many of us waste time every day lamenting the past, worrying about the future.
Daydreaming and
he's saying, I only have a few months to live.
Yes.
I want every moment to count. And to get every moment to count, I must live in the present moment. The article goes on to say this. I just want to read one more paragraph. He went on to say, it took weeks of trying to meditate before he found a way to clear the future from his mind. Before the diagnosis, he wrote, and I'm quoting him, my last thought every night before falling asleep usually concerns something that was to happen 1 month to 6 months later. With concentration, he wrote, with concentration, my last thought before falling asleep was the next day. So again, you talked about concentration in a previous program. I think you alluded to it today. And what importance the Buddhists attach to using the mind to focus, to engage, to concentrate. And he's saying that too. And apparently, this made his final months on earth more fulfilling. He was able to live in the present moment.
Yeah, he mentions about meditation also. Meditation, which is which is a core practice in Buddhism, very fundamental practice in Buddhism. Of course, all religions have different forms of meditation, but in Buddhism it is very important because now Buddha said that human being is a composition of nama and rupa, mind, and matter. Matter means the body. And these two are entirely different in the sense body is sedentary, is stationary.
Yeah.
The mind, it goes, they say the monkey mind, sorry, because it can go right around the world. It can go various places.
I remember reading this description that one Buddhist said, the mind is like a drunken, crazed monkey cavorting about in a cage. A drunken, crazed monkey.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, now, for physical health, for the health of the body, what do? We do the exact opposite of the nature. Now, body is a stationary thing. It's in one place. So, what do? We exercise, get activity. On the other hand, mind is not stationary, is volatile, is moving everywhere. So, for the health of the mind, you must bring it to one place, calm down. That is meditation.
So meditation is a form of concentration.
Yes,
So
yes.
meditation is a way of engaging the mind, concentrating on something.
Yes.
And when we concentrate, we get a lot of the noise out of our heads. Psychiatrists and psychologists often refer to the state of flow. They say that when we are in the state of flow, we are concentrating so hard on something that we even forget about time and forget about all of our problems. We are so focused. So the Buddhists attach a lot of importance
Yes.
to concentrating, to
Yeah.
being focused, to disciplining the mind.
Mind.
This is essential to Buddhism.
Yes. Yes.
Percy, I see we're running short on time. Again, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Maybe
Thank you.
sometime in the future,
I enjoyed it.
we
I
will
was
do
glad to.
another program if it's
Thank you very
convenient for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As usual, I wish to conclude the program with a quote from Henry David Thoreau. Thoreau in Walden penned the following words: "To affect the quality of the day, that is the highest of arts." It's also Buddhist.